From an unlikely online romance to jail records and family turmoil,
We don't have any money.
Who spends it all?
You don't have.
Who spends it all?
Paul, I don't love you more. I don't love you more. But you look.
the story of Paul Staehle and Corinne Martins unfolds like a cautionary tale. Their saga began innocently enough. The Kentucky native Paul and Brazilian Corinne met online and fell fast in love. He took a leap of faith and flew to Corinne's remote one village in Brazil to meet her in person.
My love life did a full 180. I tried online dating, and I found this beautiful Brazilian woman named Corinne. She's just perfect in every way.
The couple's connection played out on TLC's 90 Day Fiancé, Before the 90 Days, where fans marveled at their rapid progression. Paul and Corinne were soon married too under a K-1 fiancé visa, which legally requires couples to wed within 90 days of entry into the US. From the outside, their bond seemed strong, even undeniable, but the foundation was tenuous. They struggled from the start with language barriers and cultural differences, and Paul's hidden past loomed over their dreams.
Please sit down and explain to me all the reasons why you're upset.
Por favor, sente-se e explique-me todas as razões pelas quais você está chateado.
This rushed timeline, driven by visa rules and the pressure to marry quickly too, set their relationship on shaky ground. Their true fracture lines emerged quickly. Paul's criminal history was disclosed on camera, and it shocked Corinne and viewers to the core. In 2014, Paul was convicted of second-degree arson for burning his own property in an insurance scam, serving time behind bars.
Oh.
He had also been accused of stalking a former girlfriend and violating a protective order back in 2013. These 4 revelations hit Corinne hard. She was shocked to learn of the fiery crime, especially since it meant he struggled with travel. In fact,
I was accused of burning my own house, burning my own personal property, and spent about 18 months in jail.
a Brazilian consulate initially classified his arson conviction as a terrorism 5 offense, leading to visa complications. Lawyers explained the mistranslation. A charge of terroristic 6 threatening can sound like terrorism in a foreign court.
Oh.
She doesn't deserve damaged goods. It's not fair to her. I'm sorry.
Although Corinne eventually forgave Paul for his past, this episode planted deep mistrust. Overlooking such severe red flags set a dangerous precedent. One partner had willingly ignored serious crimes early on, foreshadowing the suspicion and conflict to come. Aside from legal troubles, Paul's quirky on-screen behavior hinted at deeper instability. He became infamous for bizarre stunts, sprinting off into the woods mid-argument or leaping into a muddy river to escape Corinne. In one unforgettable moment, a frustrated Paul even climbed into a child and dog house and began talking to himself in the middle of a fight. These odd outbursts, captured by cameras and shared online, were initially played for laughs on reality TV, but they masked serious issues: temper tantrums, impulsive escapes, and shaky impulse control. By hinting that he had been evaluated for autism in school, Paul himself suggested that his struggles might stem from underlying psychological or neurological issues. What was framed as quirky TV humor increasingly felt like a cry for help, and these episodes added to Paul's public image as dangerously unpredictable. When Paul finally brought Corinne to the US, the cultural and financial pressures immediately intensified their conflict. The couple settled into a modest trailer in Kentucky, but Corinne was unhappy, and homesick. She had never lived away from Brazil or her family, and she felt alone in America.
So, Corinne, are you excited to go to America?
Yes, but I'm nervous.
I miss my family.
I mean, this is an opportunity for us. Unfortunately, I need to make money. I can make some money here, but I can make more money in America. And I want Pierre to have all the opportunities.
Meanwhile, Paul's criminal record made it nearly impossible for him to find steady work. When he applied, employers often saw the felony arson conviction on background checks and rejected him outright. Kareen's frustration mounted. She accused Paul of failing to provide, and she even threatened to return to Brazil if he couldn't fix their problems. These issues compounded their early communication struggles. With Paul promising stability and Kareen seeking security, they instead found only instability. As Paul's mother bluntly scolded him, "Bringing her over here, you have to have income and be able to support them." The public witnessed their world collide. On national TV, Paul demanded a paternity test when Kareen was pregnant with their first son, Pierre. He blindsided Kareen and the audience by questioning whether he was even the father. This moment laid bare Paul's paranoia and lack of trust in Kareen, humiliating her on camera. Fans were outraged by his accusation. It confirmed that their already shaky marriage rested on a rocky foundation. Emboldened by tabloid attention, Paul and Kareen then tried to monetize the turmoil. They announced plans to live-stream reading their children's DNA test results on OnlyFans. In interviews and social posts, Paul bragged about offering a private Maury Povich-style spectacle, letting fans watch live as he proved both sons were biologically his. This stunt enraged many. It exposed their infant son's paternity to the public and blended personal trauma with self-promotion. It was more than a bad look. It was a warning sign that they were blurring boundaries between family life and reality TV spectacle. Behind the scenes, a toxic pattern took hold. Paul and Kareen fell into an exhausting cycle of on-again, off-again drama. They repeatedly announced breakups, even divorces, only to reconcile days or weeks later. For example, in November 2019, Kareen reportedly initiated divorce proceedings.
Tudo que eu quero é que eu resolva o problema do divórcio. Então, que ele possa ir para os Estados Unidos, que para mim tá tudo bem.
Before the couple quickly patched things up, each separation was played out on social media. Cryptic posts, accusations, and entreaties to fans. This roller coaster dance became so routine, it almost lost shock value. On one hand, it highlighted how codependent and volatile their relationship had become. On the other, it looked performative. Viewers suspected the couple was prolonging fights for attention and potential profit. Their social feeds became a theater of breakups and makeups, eroding credibility. This constant cycle suggested they were trapped, perhaps addicted to the drama, unable to truly let go or commit, but unwilling to stop the spectacle either.
So you just want to give up and get divorced?
Então você quer desistir e se divorciar.
See? You want a divorce?
Yes.
By late 2021, the Staehle household had turned physically violent. Incidents were captured on camera and circulated online. Clips emerged showing Kareen physically attacking Paul during a fight, and Paul countered that he too had footage of Kareen assaulting him. The legal system got involved in a terrifying way. In August 2020, Kareen obtained an emergency protective order, EPO, against Paul, telling authorities she feared for her life and her 15 sons' life in their home.
We don't have any money.
Who spends it all?
You don't help.
Who spends it all?
Paul, I don't love you more. I don't love you more. But you look.
The order legally forced Paul to stay at least 500 feet away from Kareen and 16 baby Pierre. Paul also filed his own restraining order, claiming Kareen had attacked him, illustrating just how far their marriage had fallen. A judge eventually dismissed both orders in September 2017, but the damage was done. These developments were no longer reality TV drama. They were real-world safety threats. The allegations grew more serious. Kareen later claimed Paul raped her and deprived her of documents so she couldn't leave the country, while Paul accused Kareen of 18 poisoning him with shards of glass. trust had shattered completely. The signs were chilling. Karine wrote in court filings that she was terrified. Paul will hurt me or hurt my son. Indeed, Paul had publicly admitted his own terror when Karine went missing with Pierre, which triggered the police to search for them. Their children were literally caught in the crossfire. Image, a Japanese netsuke carving titled Quarreling Couple, symbolizing Paul and Karine's bitter domestic battles. Paul's on-screen rages and Karine's desperate pleas played out like a tragic opposite of the pet names one expects in a marriage. In this toxic atmosphere, the courts intervened at multiple levels. Karine's EPO stated that the police had been called to rescue her and Pierre from an environment that no longer was healthy. Paul admitted publicly that he and Karine now slept apart after Karine moved out of the trailer they shared. Behind the cameras, legal documents were filed almost as frequently as social media posts. By late 2021, after yet another altercation, Karine filed a petition for another protective order. Paul counter-petitioned. These moves marked a complete collapse. A marriage that began with starry-eyed declarations had degenerated into mutual accusations, court orders, and the very real fear for personal safety. The cruelty of these exchanges was hard to overstate. Each told the police that the other had endangered their kids, and each accused the other of nightmarish acts. It was beyond dysfunctional, and TLC ultimately distanced itself. The network's tell-all reunion special explicitly snubbed Paul and Karine. Host Sean Robinson revealed that TLC simply gave them space and did not invite them to the reunion because their situation was very complicated and sensitive.
Well, obviously, the situation between Paul and Karine is a very complicated and sensitive one. So when we were about to do the tell-all,
for a franchise built on dramatic couples, pulling the plug on Paul and Karine was a clear signal. Even TLC draws a line at domestic danger. The loss of custody. The most devastating blow came in mid-2022 when Child Protective Services, CPS, stepped in. After years of documented violence and instability, CPS removed Paul and Karine's two young sons, Pierre, age 3, and Ethan, age 1, from their custody. Though neither party officially acknowledged all the reasons publicly, multiple reports confirmed the children were placed in foster care for their safety. This severe action is the culmination of their abuse allegations and neglect. As Karine herself once told police, she feared for their lives, a fear eventually borne out by CPS's intervention. Even Paul's own parents entered the fray, seeking custody of the boys to provide a stable home. Losing their children was the ultimate price of Paul and Karine's toxic meltdown. It transformed their public unraveling into a personal tragedy. Two innocent toddlers were uprooted from their parents' care, representing the real-world cost of the couple's unchecked conflict, fired from the franchise. Once the children were gone and the police reports stacked up, Paul and Karine's reality TV career was essentially over. They were barred from TLC's reunion shows and tell-all episodes. The Pop Culture article explains that TLC chose not to include them at all on the season's reunion, opting to give them space rather than broadcast their escalating crises. In effect, the network fired the couple. Even in a genre that thrives on drama, Paul and Karine's situation had become untenable for entertainment. TLC likely calculated that continuing to feature them would be ethically problematic and legally messy. This public rejection underscored their fall from grace. The network that once celebrated their wedding now wouldn't even air their voices. Their exclusion marked the end of their mainstream reality fame. Paul and Karine had become too controversial even for a show built on controversy. Financial hardship and job woes. After TLC moved on, Paul and Karine were left to face their problems without a production crew. Yet nothing had magically improved. Paul still struggled to find lawful work. He openly admitted that his criminal record was still blocking employers. "Before I can even put the application in, people are just telling me no," he told his mother. This chronic unemployment kept the family in poverty and in conflict. Kareen's homesickness only intensified as they scrimped and scraped in poverty. The cycle from years earlier had simply continued off camera. Kareen again floated, moving back to Brazil, and Paul promised to fix things but couldn't. This ongoing hardship showed the long reach of Paul's past. The result? By the time their show ended, Paul's life was as unstable as ever. Without TLC's cameras capturing every outrageous moment, their personal crisis simply became more private, though no less serious. Even after disappearing from TV, Paul's life remained chaotic in public. He disappeared twice in dramatic circumstances. In July 2022, Paul and young Pierre were reported missing in Louisville, Kentucky. Media and fans panicked, but Paul soon explained that they were on an extended work trip and that Pierre had separation anxiety. Meanwhile, their other son, Ethan, was staying with Paul's mother. This episode was brushed off as a misunderstanding, but it foreshadowed a worse scare. In August 2023, Paul went missing for real. This time, deep in the Amazon jungle of Brazil, he sent frantic texts to his mother saying he was lost and needed rescue, hinting that he was stranded on a boat with dying phone battery.
I got this like a canoe type boat, went out there. Now on the way going where we were going, kind of had a hiccup. So I got, tried to call back for help, try to get some help.
Karina even posted on social media ominous hints about his death. Newsweek and TMZ later quoted Paul denying that it was a stunt. He claimed instead that the boat's battery died on a river trip, leaving him stranded at a floating house. Whether it was a genuine crisis or another publicity gambit, the incident only deepened concerns about Paul's state of mind and credibility. At best, it highlighted how he now seeks attention even in perilous situations. Image? A boathouse on the Amazon River, Brazil, evoking the setting of Paul Staehle's second disappearance in the Amazon. Stranded on the river, Paul sent urgent messages to his family saying he was lost and in dire straits. Today, Paul is living alone in Manaus, a major city in the Amazon basin. He posts selfies and fun content on social media, attempts to show a happier new life, even as he continues to feud with Kareen over custody. Paul has publicly stated his intent to return to Kentucky to fight for their sons, indicating the legal battle is far from over. Yet geographically and emotionally, the two are worlds apart. Paul's life in Brazil is a far cry from the family man he claimed to be on 90 Day Fiancé. He jokes about fishing and local friends, but interviews reveal his stress. He still knows his children are being raised by others, and he can't see them. The lingering weight of his downfall remains. No matter how many pictures he posts, or how many rivers he sails, Paul cannot escape the consequences of the chaos that consumed his family. Paul Staehle's story is a tragic arc from hopeful, romantic to cautionary tale. Along the way, every warning sign, from his hidden criminal record to his unstable antics, was magnified by the public spotlight. His life with Kareen became a spectacle of mistrust, abuse, and spectacle, culminating in the most heartbreaking outcome, the loss of his young children. The once quirky cast member devolved into a symbol of what can happen when private turmoil is amplified for ratings. Now ostracized from the franchise that made him famous, Paul faces a future defined not by romance, but by ongoing legal battles and the pain of family loss. His narrative serves as a stark reminder that the consequences of personal and legal troubles can echo far beyond the camera's view, sometimes devastatingly so.